Hey everybody, my name is Rich McDonald. I'm joined today by the head of Axi Select, Greg Rubin, and this is the anniversary of the launch of Axi Select. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to collate some of the most commonly asked questions about the prop trading industry, and who better to answer those questions than the expert himself, Greg Rubin. Greg, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Rich. Always a pleasure.
Now, to kick off with question number one, why has prop trading become so popular?
I think prop trading addresses the biggest problem that we have in the trading community. It's the lack of funding. You know, what we see a lot of with retail traders is when they start out, they use too much leverage. They want to make a lot of money in a short space of time. You know, we all see people driving Ferraris, 7-figure salaries, and we assume, well, you're not going to get that trading $10 worth. So we get that sort of perception in. And when you have the prop firm space, you have the ability or the allure of having access and capital that you would never normally be able to. And that's certainly why it's become popular, is because people have been used to trading small accounts get the opportunity or the potential to have those large sums of money to trade with.
And that's, I guess, certainly one of the main strengths of the industry. What do you see as the prop trading industry's strengths and weaknesses?
So let's start with the weaknesses, and I'll come back to the strength, because the weakness is how likely you are to access that capital based on the current models. You know, a simple Google will show you what percentage of traders are actually passing these challenges. And you can also see with some of these firms how much money they're making, and they're making money based off collecting registration fees. So a very small percentage of traders are actually being able to access capital or have this capital for any extended period of time. So what the purpose behind it, or the idea behind it, is great, but unfortunately, based on the current models, we aren't seeing a significant amount of people benefiting from it. Now, of course, there are some very good traders out there who are going through the systems and are making good money in careers. So it is possible, but unfortunately, with the rules and restrictions and the actual gist of the model being demo account registration fee, it is unfortunately not based around trading. It is more around speculation, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So yeah, with regards to the advantages, it as I said, it does open up, it opens up a door for you. Because if you, with as little as paying a registration fee of, $500, $50, $200, you can, in theory, have access to $200,000 to trade. Again, how often does it happen is different. But I think with regards to the prop space, it certainly is appealing in that sense.
Yeah. Now, I'd like to call what we've seen over the past few years the democratization of trading.
Yeah.
The prop trading industry ties into that. And how would you say the trader demographic has changed over the past 10 years, and why is that?
So funnily enough, I started my career as a prop trader, but back then it meant something very different. Yeah. You worked for a firm, you're in their office every day trading their funds. Mm-hmm. And then I look now at, to this day, that was probably the most strenuous interview I ever had. I still remember it. And now you get the opportunity to sit at home from all walks of life. It opens the door to be able to trade for yourself, to become a local trader. So
without the interview. Without
the interview and without having to go to the office, and to do it for yourself. So it's definitely opened up the doors in terms of who can participate and who can actually get access to this capital. So naturally, you've seen people from all walks of life, all ages, all demographics getting that opportunity, which is great.
Now, since we last met, I think prop trading firms have been closing down on a monthly basis. Do you expect this trend to continue?
Yeah, look, it's been a very difficult time for the prop industry since MetaQuotes has sort of walked back, and we've seen a lot of brokers move out of the space. We're seeing a lot of these firms scrambling to find brokers, scrambling to find platforms to trade on, and it's not easy in that sense, and it's not easy to integrate. We've also seen a lot of brokers into the space, So naturally, the industry does seem to be evolving. Where this ends up, it'll be interesting to see. But when you look at the explosion, you go back, we almost at the anniversary, I think it was 1st of September when the MFF news hit, which was the start of this turmoil.
Yeah.
It's just over a year now. And before then, we had from 5-10 major firms into hundreds of firms. It's very difficult when you have hundreds of firms offering the exact same model, very similar models, to be space for all of it. So we hit that natural crescendo, and now we're seeing some of the smaller firms, unfortunately, leaving this space. And I think that would likely continue. I think we're likely heading towards a more broker-focused market. And there does seem to be a strong appeal for MetaQuotes, and it seems like the firms who have lost MetaQuotes are struggling.
And that takes us on. One of the questions we've had is, what are the consequences of a broker-led industry?
I think it's a positive. One of the issues that we've had, besides MetaQuotes, besides the brokers leaving the space or providing the service to these prop firms, is the lack of knowledge on risk management, lack of ability to handle flow. And ultimately, brokers, that's their core job as a broker. So there shouldn't be any excuses in terms of risk management, handling flow, being able to act like a broker.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big positive, especially when you see the stories of why some of these firms have shut down. It's the risk management that's let them down. It's the ease of market and ultimately being a sales firm. So you'd rather have an industry that has that knowledge and that natural daily business is to manage it. And I think a lot of with what we've seen with these firms going under or firms leaving the space, I think a lot of the participants would feel a lot more comfortable with the broker, leaving their funds with a broker, as opposed to a smaller firm.
Now, you mentioned there that prop firms are struggling to integrate with other platforms. Why do you think this is?
Well, MetaQuotes has been the face of the prop industry, and it's the face of the FX industry. And as traders, you go with what you used to. But the one thing that's become bigger and bigger is the use of EAs. And MetaQuotes is very good when it comes to integrating your EA into the platform, where I believe the others might not be as sophisticated in that sense. So if you are using an EA and that's your way, your strategy, it's difficult to integrate that. But yeah, if you have the option as a trader to join a program that has MetaQuotes, that's what you've been trading for, your EA is on it, or to go to a program that no longer has it, and again, within the industry, it's all quite similar, the different program structures, you can see why it's difficult without MetaQuotes.
Now, Greg, assuming that Axi Select is successful in redefining the industry, how do you think the industry itself will change over the next 5 years?
I think that the big thing with Axi Select is the fact that it's based around traders. It's there to give traders an ability to forge careers as opposed to speculate, hit a big home run, where I believe the current model is at.
Yeah.
I think, and I wouldn't be surprised to see more firms come out with models more similar to Axi Select, and I'd almost encourage it in a sense to provide a transparent platform, to provide a platform that gives traders a fair and realistic opportunity to generate profits. So what we're seeing in this space at the moment, with all the competition that's come in and all the brokers that have come in, is a move that's almost undercutting each other. So we're seeing lower registration fees. We're seeing get your registration fee back if you passed it, get 2 challenges for the price of 1. So all these things, which sound great, I mean, for the trader, it's better. You're getting, better opportunity, or you're getting more funds. But as a business, and also removing the time, there used to be 30 days, you had 1 month to pass the challenges. So by removing that, these firms are ultimately undercutting their models, and the revenue streams are drying up, or they're certainly not what they were. So I think it's naturally this industry does need to progress into more than charging registration fee, profit registration fee versus having to pay out. And naturally, I think we in a very good position in that sense, and it's why and how we set up a transparent manner that gives traders a fair opportunity.
One common question we get over and over again is, why should traders swap to Axi Select? Sell it to me.
Well, it's free to join. Doesn't cost you anything. You get access to live accounts. You're not trading on demo accounts. In fact, you get to choose your account like you would for a normal Axi account. So you can choose a standard account or you can choose a pro account. You get those exact same real life trading conditions. You get 3 attempts at the program as opposed to 1. There's no evaluation stages. On top of the generous funding, you get all the tools, access to the trading room, weekly webinars, dashboard, edge score to improve your trading at the same time. And ultimately, you get access to our capital, and it doesn't cost you anything. So I want to add one more thing. You can lose your deposit. So although we don't charge a registration fee, your funds can be lost. So there is risk in that sense.
And what do you think's not talked enough about in the industry?
I think we've got to be realistic. You know, what happens a lot with these prop firms is you see get $200,000, 5 days trading. But how realistic is it? What percentage of traders are actually accessing this capital? It's not many. And the ones that do, what percentage are still on the program 2-3 months later? You can Google that and get the result. It's just very low. And I think that's the problem. You know, when I talk about Axi Select, I will tell you it's difficult. I will tell you you're probably not going to get to $1 million unless you're a very good trader. But what we can do is to say, here are the tools, here are all the information from our side. What we can do is to give you a fair opportunity to try and access that capital and give you a fair opportunity whilst telling you it's difficult. Whereas the industry looks at it more in the other manner. And they say, well, place a few trades, get access, $200,000, 5 days trading. Like, and I'll tell you a funny story, an interesting story, and I know we have spoken about this off air, but it's a very interesting story. Is one of the biggest questions I get asked is, can you speed up your program? Why does it take me so long to get access to that funding? I can get access to funding way quicker on the other programs. And I say, because it's real.
Yeah.
What company is going to give you $500,000 or $1 million of their funds unless you've proved yourself? But the way this prop industry has evolved, this common knowledge of you will get access to this money very quickly, that's considered common practice.
Yeah.
So what's not spoken about is people shouldn't be asking why your program or why Axi Select takes so long. They should be concerned or asking, why am I getting promised funding so quickly?
And how realistic is that?
Well, that's the whole thing. So that's the part that I get a lot of. And I flip it around, and this must be about 6 months ago, I spoke to a good friend who's a hedge fund manager, and I was explaining Axi Select to him. And he said, so you mean you prepared to give traders $1 million of your funds within a year? I said, yes. And people told me that's way too slow. So in the real world, in the real financial world, in the world of hedge funds, Axi Select is like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
In the world of the prop firm space, it's almost considered too slow.
Yeah.
And that should be spoken about more. This nonsense of saying you are likely to trade $200,000 in 2 months of trading or 2 weeks of trading. If it's real, there's not many companies in the world are giving you that after 5 trades, after 10 trades. Here's $500,000, go trade with my money.
Yeah.
So again, that plays into the model, and I think we should be more open about that and more realistic and more transparent when it comes to the industry and the model.
Okay, and you talk about transparency. Okay, so let's test you on that. Why don't you give us some stats about fund allocation, payouts? You know, give us the true transparency of Axi Select.
So we've got, if I look at from August and September, so from August and up to September, we've got just over 9,000 traders who have traded. We have 14 at the pro stage. We have 350 or 360, I think it was, in the acceleration stage, which is $50,000 to $100,000 of our funds. The pro stage is $200,000 of our funds. So we've got people at all the different stages.
So you got 14 traders that have over $200,000 each.
Yes.
Of Axi funds.
Correct.
Wow.
And it's growing, and it's growing as well, because you know it takes time. You can't just go from signing up to having 200,000. You have to prove yourself. And again, we spoke about being real, about being transparent. So we're very hopeful that these traders will progress soon to the Pro 500, the Pro M, get $500,000 and $1 million of our funds. And that's ultimately an important part of our program.
Well, how hopeful are you?
Hopeful.
Why don't you give the the viewers some tips on how to get there?
Like I said, trading is very difficult, and you've got to be a good trader. I'm not going to pretend to you that you're going to get $1 million of our funds. We're not going to. What firm gives somebody $1 million of their funds if they don't think you're a good trader? So to get $1 million of our funds, you've got to prove yourself. And I'm telling you now, it's not easy. But it shouldn't be easy.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's the important takeaway.
But that's the great thing, that you have the proof that 14 traders have met the conditions necessary to get $200,000 of funding already, and therefore are in the pipeline to go up to 500 and potentially 1 million.
And the criteria to move from the 200 to 500,000 to $1 million is not anymore on your score. So once you've reached a score of 90, you are a pro trader. It's about showing it by making 5%. So long as you make 5% and your score doesn't drop below 90, you then, and meet the criteria of number of trades and days, you then move on to the next stage, which is 500,000 and $1 million.
Fantastic. Well, Greg, I look forward to the day that you can tell me we've got our first $1 million allocated capital. And thank you very much for joining me today.